Welcome back to the Centered on Buffalo podcast. This is going to be a solo episode. We're going to talk about this Bills-Chiefs game, the keys to the win. We're also going to touch on this NFC Championship game briefly. But hey, thank you for all the new subscribers out there. If you haven't done this already, please like this podcast, give it a comment, subscribe, share with a friend. We appreciate all that. This podcast is growing, and it's because of you, and we are eternally grateful for you sharing the podcast, subscribing, and all of that. If you haven't already, check out the previous episode with Dan Orlovsky. We get into this Bills-Chiefs matchup, and in my opinion, there's nobody better in the game than Dan to pull that off. And so go check out that episode. If you're new to the podcast, we've had some great guests that are timeless. The ones with Gronkowski, Jason Kelce, ones with Josh in the preseason. Those are all great to tune into. Okay. So let's talk about this Bills-Chiefs matchup coming up this Sunday, 6:30 in Orchard Park. We got the GOATs on the broadcast, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfstein on the sideline, Jay Feely as well. And so we got an all-star cast. It's going to be a ton of fun as usual. These teams faced off earlier in the regular season. Kansas City came into Buffalo undefeated, and they left with a loss, 30-21. And it was an interesting game. The Bills were able to play kind of how they do all year. Josh turned the ball over one time. It was a 4th and 2 play. It looked like a little bit of a miscommunication with Dawson Knox, and he throws an interception on the play. But other than that, Josh played a clean game. He threw for over 260 yards. He was also the leading rusher in the game. He had 55 yards rushing, and he had one of the plays of the year, that 26-yard touchdown run, 4th and 2, end of the game. Sean McDermott's aggressive on 4th and 2, could have kicked the field goal. But then the Bills are only going to be up 5. You never want to give Patrick Mahomes the ball back at the end of the game. And if a touchdown beats you, then they play 4-down ball all the way down the field. We saw it in the Super Bowl last year. We've seen it countless times. And so Sean McDermott rolls the dice, and it pays off, and Josh runs it in to the end zone. It was just an awesome play, just showing off how big of a beast he is. I think that's what Chris Brown said on the call afterwards. What a beast. And so Bills get the win. Travis Kelce in the game, not Jason Kelce. Travis Kelce in the game, 2 catches, 8 yards. They were able to hold him in check. Terrell Bernard, did a great job in the middle of the defense, being able to cover him. And then when he did get his catches, get him on the ground immediately. And this time, much different feel with the game being in Kansas City. Obviously, Bills Mafia gives them home field advantage, but it's also a different game because of the people who missed the first game in the Buffalo-Kansas City game. So we had Matt Milano out for the Bills, Spencer Brown, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, and DeJuan Smoot. A lot of key contributors that will be back this time. For the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco was out, Marquise Hollywood Brown out, Jalen Watson out, Charles Omenihu, and their kicker, Harrison Butker. That is a lot of guys out for both teams. So it'll have a different feel to this one based upon who's back in the game. And so, this is obviously another monumental matchup for these teams. Josh Allen trying to slay the giant in the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's not just Josh, it's Sean McDermott, it's the entire team, but so much is built up around these quarterbacks. And the Bills are looking to get to the Super Bowl for the first time with Josh Allen. They were in this position in Kansas City in 2020. I felt like that team kind of overachieved that year, overmatched a little bit in that AFC Championship game in Kansas City. Weird year as well with COVID. I wasn't even on the call. I was doing pregame and postgame from home in Louisville. Couldn't travel with the team because of COVID. So a lot of, kind of odd factors into that one. But the Bills were overmatched. They lose that game. And Kansas City's been on an epic run, and they're trying to set history. So this isn't the Bills can go in free the Chiefs can go in free because they won the last 2 Super Bowls, and the Bills are just trying to get over the hump. Well, they're trying to make history. They're trying to get 3 Super Bowls in a row, never been done before. And then obviously pressure on the Bills to try and get it done. And so what are the keys to the game for the Bills to get a win in Kansas City? We're going to start here, and I think this might be the biggest factor in the game, and it's to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. In the playoffs especially, the Bills have not been able to get to Patrick Mahomes. And because of that, he has been able to torch this defense. And so in the regular season, Patrick Mahomes throws for under 200 yards in the game. He gets sacked twice in the game. He throws 2 picks in the game. And a lot of that was because of the pressure that the Bills were able to put on him. This Chiefs offensive line, their tackles are not great. And because of that, they've actually moved their left guard, Joe Thuney, out to left tackle. We'll see if they stick with that lineup. They put in Matt Caliendo, one of their backups, in at left guard because of that. And look, it's never easy going from guard out to the edge. And so we'll see if they roll with that lineup again. I would anticipate so. But if we look at Patrick Mahomes in the regular season against the Bills, he averages 260 passing yards a game, 64.8% completions. He's 1-4 in those games, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a passer rating of 85.9. All right, now let's look at Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs against the Bills. He's 3-0, 75% completion percentage. So that jumps up 10%, 306 passing yards per game. That jumps up 46 yards, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 126.6 passer rating. It is monumental that this Bills team, this Bills defense, because I'm not even just going to say the defensive line, but that this Bills team is able to put some pressure on them. The Bills were able to do it earlier in the season using some odd mirror looks. So basically, the Bills will have 2 linebackers, 3 defensive linemen in the game in their dime package. They were able to flush them out of the pocket, and we saw the linebackers be able to get downhill, put some pressure on them. And so I anticipate the Bills to run that a lot. And look, Andy Reid's going to try to have some answers against it. And so does Bobby Babich roll the dice and bring maybe some pressures off that look, off the edges, and drop those linebackers out and not run a true spot? But you got to be able to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes because he is so good. And I know this isn't news to everyone tuning in for this, but he's just so good at improvising after the play if you're not able to put pressure on him. And his guys are used to that, so they're really good at working outside of the route structure to be able to get open. He extends those plays, and that's where you see a lot of the big plays happen for this Chiefs offense. So they got to be able to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, I want to see the Bills establish the run again. And look, everybody wants to see a quarterback duel here in Kansas City this weekend. That's why, last week's Bills-Ravens game had the highest rating of any NFL game this season. I anticipate this Bills-Chiefs game to now trump that. Everyone's going to tune in. They want to see Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen face off. And look, I want the same. I'm going to be calling the game. We want the action, but I want to see this Bills offense establish the run. That will set up the passing plays. It also keeps Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, it keeps him honest. It doesn't allow him to just dial up pressures. The Chiefs blitz, I believe, 5th most in the NFL, and they'll bring it from everywhere. It's tough to diagnose. It's really hard to diagnose in Kansas City when they can roll their coverage, roll into a blitz at the last second, and because it's so loud, you can't verbally communicate to make those checks that you always hear Josh on TV when they're at home. He's communicating so well out there. You just can't do it against Kansas City, at Kansas City as well, because it's so loud in there. Running the football also can suck the life out of the crowd some. You can maybe make it so it's easier to be able to diagnose those blitzes. Also, when you're able to run the football effectively, you get out of those obvious pass situations. The Bills had such a high success rate on first down against the Ravens running the football that allowed them to stay ahead of the chains and not get in some of those exotic looks that Baltimore likes to do. And then that would also be the case this weekend against Kansas City. And yes, Kansas City has had a good rush defense throughout this season. But look, this Bills offense ran the football for 357 yards in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs against the number 3 ranked rush defense in Denver, number 1 rush defense in the Baltimore Ravens. So establishing the run in this game is going to play a huge factor. And look, if we look at this Bills offense, the best playmaker outside of Josh Allen is James Cook right now. He's playing incredible. Feed him the ball and also get him the ball out of the backfield and let him try to make plays in space against this Chiefs defense. Third key to winning this game is to balance taking care of the football while still being aggressive. You got to put up points against the Chiefs in the playoffs to win the game. So you don't want to just play so conservative and say, we don't want to turn the ball over. We haven't turned the ball over in the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. It worked for us. And yes, you want to take care of the football in this game, but you got to balance that with still being aggressive. When you get one-on-ones down the field, take some shots. We saw Amari Cooper have 2 nice big plays down the field against this Chiefs defense in the first matchup. try and do it again. You get one-on-ones based upon the blitz, take some chances down the field and try and make some big plays while still playing balanced. And Josh has been masterful at playing clean football this season. This is the lowest percentage of plays with a sack, fumble, or interception in league history since the merger. It's the lowest percentage of negative plays in a season by a quarterback. Continue doing that, but also mix in those shot plays and aggressiveness down the field. I also feel like you can be aggressive attacking the middle of the field, going to your tight ends. The Chiefs defense gives up the most yards per play against opposing teams' tight ends. And so whether that's Kincaid, who missed the last Bills-Chiefs matchup, Dawson Knox, try and take advantage of those situations. It might be Shakir in the slot as well. And so, try and take advantage of the middle of the field of this Chiefs defense. And I think you can have some success there. And that's where I'd like to see them be aggressive. So my score prediction for this game is going to be 24-17. I think the Bills likely settle for one field goal, and the Chiefs likely settle for one field goal as well. This Chiefs offense has not been great in the red zone scoring touchdowns this year. I believe they're right around 24th in the league in scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They settle for a field goal. Bills settle for a field goal. Bills get one more touchdown in this game. Give me them winning 24-17, and how sweet it will be. New Orleans has got all that snowed down there right now. They're prepped for Bills Mafia to come down there. We know how to handle the snow. We'll take that on, and we hope it sticks around. Let's touch quickly on this NFC Championship game. It's a fun matchup, and I'll be in the booth early. We'll be prepping. I'll be on the roundtable on WGR, and that will start about 4 p.m. Eastern. And so we'll have the game on in the booth, and I'm excited to watch this one. You have a team in the Eagles that's got a ton of playoff experience. They maybe have the most talented roster left when you look at all four teams that are left. Saquon Barkley has been awesome this year. Their offensive line has done a great job. So can they just run the football, suck the life out of this game? And on the other side, you have a team with almost nothing to lose. You have Jaden Daniels. He's got no ghosts in the playoffs. There's no pressure on him to try and, there's no pressure on him to say that in year one, you got to go make the Super Bowl. And so they can cut it loose. They can cut it loose with Scary Terry McLaurin on the outside, and Jaden Daniels put the ball in his hands and let him make plays. I think the Eagles win that one. And I think, my gut's telling me it's going to be kind of close to that Bills score. Give me 28-24 Eagles to win this one. But I'm excited to watch that one. Jaden Daniels impresses me. The composure that he has shown through this playoff run for a rookie. I mean, he goes back-to-back on the road winning playoff games. Prior to him winning those two playoff games on the road, the last 6 games a rookie quarterback played in the playoffs, dating back to 2015, they've lost them all. And Bo Nix adds another one. So I guess it's now 2-7 in the last 9 games for a rookie quarterback on the road in the playoffs. The only 2 wins are Jaden Daniels. He's fun to watch, and he's slowly, or let me say quickly, becoming the top quarterback maybe in the entire NFC. We can maybe debate that one another time, but it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm going to be at the Game Day Buffalo tailgate before the game. For anybody going, I hope to see you there. It's going to be a fun time. Make sure to wear blue in the stands. You stand out better as a Bills fan. And that might be obvious, but with the Chiefs being red, if Bills fans are in red, you don't stand out as much. I'd like to see it from the booth. Our broadcast booth, not ideal. Indoor, so we don't hear the crowd hardly. And we're about 8 stories up. And so we don't get a great view of it this time. And there's been some heartbreak in that booth when I've been calling games, but we've had success against them in the regular season when we've gone there. So hopefully next week when we are talking about a Bills win against the Chiefs, what our Super Bowl plans are going to be, all the fun we're going to have down in New Orleans. Again, thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, like it, rate it, review it. Let's go. Go Bills.